Cool. This smells like shit.
It is shit.
Oh good, then it's not just me.
What is up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the chronically charismatic Dr. Disaster, and a couple weeks ago, we learned that Crystal Dynamics, the guys who own and run the Tomb Raider franchise, they had to lay off a chunk of their staff for the second time this year, and apparently that still is not enough because there's at least one more person who really needs to go because he has proven that he's a real piece of shit.
Be gone!
Yeah, the dude really needs to go because, of course, just like with all of these other studios that we've been talking about in the past few days, this guy is infesting their studio with his Looney Tune, leftist, progressive commie BS. He is someone who watched Charlie Kirk, who only ever wanted to debate with people and to talk. He watched him get killed and publicly announced that mourning him is a bad thing.
You're a very sick person.
Well, fortunately, there are some people out there who have a sense of decency when it comes to this terrible tragedy. As you can see here, the official New York Yankees account on X announced that they were holding a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, which is a pretty classy thing to do. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell people that they have to mourn and feel sorrow for Charlie Kirk. You should, in my opinion, because whatever else you think about his opinions, he was a young father and husband, and he never hurt anyone. But what you absolutely should not do, no matter what, is call this moment of silence gross, because it's actually a sign of decency. Calling it gross, like this guy did right here, is a surefire sign of moral degeneracy.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be a lot.
Yeah, this tweet is one of a whole bunch from this guy right here. This is Tom Abernathy, who lists himself as an employee of Crystal Dynamics in his X profile with his pronouns in the bio like a good little automaton, and here is his LinkedIn profile where it says that specifically he is a narrative director at Crystal Dynamics, meaning that he has a prominent role. So, as far as I'm concerned, as long as this pile of dung has employment at Crystal Dynamics, Tomb Raider is dead to me as a franchise. There once was a time when total degenerates like this were at least fearful about voicing their degeneracy in public for all to see. These asinine developers at these game studios really need a wake-up call.
Welcome to Earth.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel recently, so make sure that you check on that. And there has been a lot of talk about restricted mode being automatically enabled for a lot of users on YouTube, which would cut you off from a lot of your favorite channels, so don't forget to check into that as well and turn it off if it has been turned on and you don't want it. But let's talk about our efforts to rid these gaming studios of developers who were celebrating and mocking someone who died for the crime of having opinions that a bunch of these nut jobs just don't like. The thing is, I have been hearing a bunch of these leftists, and frankly, I don't even want to call them that any longer. These are just straight up communists at this point, and everything about their behavior, everything that they say anymore, drives that point home more and more as the days go on. But anyhow, I have been hearing these people piss and moan about cancel culture, calling the rest of the country a bunch of hypocrites because we are using their weapon against them. But the thing is, and I think this is the perfect analogy, but imagine some guy walking down the road, minding his own business, not hurting anyone, but some other guy, some loathsome little punk, sees him walking along and decides that he doesn't like this person. Maybe the guy is wearing the wrong color shirt or something. Doesn't matter why. The second guy just decides that he doesn't like the first guy, so he starts attacking him. Now, the punk who started the fight has the element of surprise on his side, and he's using a club or something, so he bloodies the first dude up pretty good. But eventually, the guy who got attacked wrestles the club away and starts wailing on the dude who attacked him. And now that he's getting his butt kicked, the little punk starts crying and saying, "This isn't fair," using a weapon. And, "Hey everyone, look at this guy here beating me up. Look at how violent he is." Yeah, I have zero problems at all using consequence culture against these clowns. But anyhow, let's look at what this guy from Crystal Dynamics said. I was first made aware of this information from this post here on X from Smash JT, who credited X account Yorch Torch Games with tipping him off. But I found a whole bunch of other tweets and retweets from this person who seems to think that Charlie Kirk deserved what he got. Here he is whining about the backlash from consequence culture coming back and biting hypocrites in the ass. He reposted a message which whines about racism, claiming that Charlie Kirk said hateful things about all kinds of people. It's amazing to me, though, how these idiots claim this all the time when talking about Charlie Kirk, but they never actually show any full quotes from Charlie in context. It's always some clip taken completely out of context, leaving them to just label him some term like Nazi or fascist or whatever. It's amusing to watch as their words of power, though, no longer seem to be working. You can call people racist all you want all day anymore, and people just don't care. We are sick of their shit. Their words of power are failing. But anyhow, this post whines about how people have been fired for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, and then it ends by claiming America is truly one of the most racist countries in the world. And yet, every time that we try to deport someone out of this horrible, racist country, these same mental midgets whine like this is some kind of grave injustice. But you know, what's really funny is that this guy's account has a few thousand followers, but at the time of this recording, not a single person has liked this tweet. But here he is retweeting some crackpot who thinks that this shooter was a false flag hired by Donald Trump to start a civil war. You know, just really sane and normal stuff. And actually, this guy's account is littered with that theory and things like that. The guy tweets and retweets shit-lib nonsense like this all day long. I'm talking literally in the past few days, he has tweeted and retweeted like 50 to 100 times every day. It is insane. I could go on and on in this video with all the crazy shit that he has said, dishonoring the memory of Charlie Kirk, who was shot for being too effective at debating pissants like this and making them look silly. Suffice to say, though, this guy is an activist loon who has no business working at any reputable company. And if Crystal Dynamics had any sense at all, they would fire this guy immediately. The thing is, this is a company who has had to acknowledge who their audience is quite a bit in the past year. They expended a chunk of their resources working on the Perfect Dark reboot with another studio, but that project was canceled because nobody wanted to see Joanna Dark be redesigned with a square jaw like Clark Kent. That was why they had to fire some of their developers a few weeks ago. They had to come to grips with the fact that gamers don't like using manly-looking women as main characters, which likely will inform their decision as they continue to work on their next Tomb Raider game. And speaking of which, speaking of Tomb Raider, they also canceled a partnership with a company that makes tabletop games earlier this year. This company was working on a Tomb Raider tabletop RPG, but it ended up getting mocked relentlessly by the internet on social media because they decided, these tabletop RPG makers, they decided that in a Tomb Raider game, you weren't going to raid any tombs because that was apparently a sign of evil colonialism or something like that. It was a seriously embarrassing blow against the reputation of the Tomb Raider franchise, and Crystal Dynamics rescinded their partnership deal because if you read the room, you can clearly see that people are getting quite tired of this blatantly woke bullshit. Crystal Dynamics has had to do a lot of damage control over the past year or so. People weren't very impressed with that Netflix show that made Lara Croft look like a dude in a wig, and I can't imagine that the Amazon show will help them much either. That being said, this might be one of the studios that will be a little harder for us to influence. The thing is, with Sucker Punch, the reason that they likely fired their developer who blasted Charlie Kirk is because they have Ghost of Yotei coming out in just a few weeks, and they want to avoid the bad press. And I feel like we have a shot at influencing Insomniac to fire their bad apple, since their Wolverine game is rumored to be highlighted at the next PlayStation State of Play later this month. But Crystal Dynamics is years away from the release of anything, and they are, I am sure, willing to bet that we, the gamers, will forget this story by the time that game comes around. But I will be leaving an email address that we can use to contact these doofuses in the comment section below. It's meant to be for recruiting at Crystal Dynamics, but if we flood them with enough emails, it will at least send the message, let them know that you will not purchase anything from them until this guy is gone. And in the meantime, I promise you that every time any news comes up with this company or their Tomb Raider IP, I will bring up the fact that this D-bag still works for them. I do not intend to forget anytime soon. But in any case, drop your disdain for Crystal Dynamics and their Looney Tune shitlib employee into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, Hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.